We've got 25. Thank you. Okay, so we've got 25 people on the call. Elia, you can continue letting them on. But yes, a massive warm welcome to all of you here tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your precious evenings to join us here today. Today, we're bringing you the next installation in the webinar series that the SGAC UK team has been putting on last year. This time, we're working collaboratively with some of the greats in our UK space community. And the theme of today's webinar is all about how to maximize the benefits of your community in the space industry. I'm going to be your host tonight. My name is Michael Scretta. I'm a systems engineer at BAE Systems Space, and I've been a member of the SGAC community for 2 years now. The power of community is amazing. We encounter our communities every day. In our jobs, in our universities, in our studies, we're always working in communities, and humans are evolved to work around communities. My favorite anecdote about this really is the fact that, and it's an interesting explanation for why we have people that are morning birds or people that like to stay up late. And the reason was that humans evolved in a way such that part of our tribe, part of our community could stay up early in the morning and look out for the rest of the community, while the other half, the late night birds, were the ones to look after the community late at night. So it's clear we've always been, as humans, evolved to work in a community. But what can your community do for you in the space industry? What has it done for me, for example? Well, for starters, I wouldn't be sat here in front of you all today if it wasn't for the community. The community has enabled me and many others to meet other like-minded people, which ultimately brings you fulfillment in everything you do. It helps you to find your place, your grounding, the meaning behind everything that you do. Community has the power to inspire as well. And there's a classic saying, which is that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around. So it's really important that you choose all of those people really wisely. And lastly, community helps you to build up key leadership opportunities. It's enabled me to grow and have rare leadership opportunities that you're not normally afforded in the workplace. So it really helps you to stand out and improve your career prospects as well. So what have we done for you today? We've brought you 3 giants from 3 of the biggest UK space communities today to tell you all about their journeys, to tell you about the communities that they're a part of and what their communities can bring for you and how to get involved. So whatever stage you are in your career, whether you're a student or whether you're well established, we're looking to hear about your perspectives, what makes a great community, what you wish could be better. And by all means, feel free to leave your comments and discussion points in the chat, because we want this to be a very interactive, very inclusive webinar that we can all get something really interesting out of. So that's enough from me. I'm now going to hand the floor to our 3 panelists, our big stars from the UK space community. If you could please introduce yourselves. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Let's go with Anushka first. Could you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself very briefly, and then we'll rotate around Bram and Zaria as well. A really quick one, and if you're feeling fancy, drop in a fun fact about yourself as well. That would be that would really go the extra mile.
Thank you so much. So it's great to be here this evening. My name is Anushka. Please call me Nush. I am the founder of Naaut, a space tech and innovation consultancy, and I'm one of the 3 co-founders of the London Space Network. And my current day job, because when you're a consultant, you have to pivot with changing times, I'm working as the liaison manager for the Space Academic Network. So lots of different communities that I'm involved with. And I'm delighted to be here this evening. And a fun fact is that I once sang on stage with one of my favorite bands in the world at that time at the O2 in London, which was incredible. So yeah, that's my fun fact. Slightly not space related, but actually the band name was 30 Seconds to Mars in my emo days. There you go.
Are you kidding me? That's amazing. Yeah, I listened to them in my emo phase as well. Oh, you have to give us a live rendition at the end of the webinar.
Oh, no way. I'll save you both all now.
All right. Thank you very much, Anush. Brilliant to hear about yourself. Zaria, do you want to go next?
Sure, I can go next. My name's Zaria. It is a weird enough name that you don't have to remember surname. You know, there's not many other Zarias in the space sector. I'm an engineer by trade, so I finished my PhD in engineering at Cranfield earlier this year, and now I'm a product strategy engineer at Astroscale, which basically means I sit kind of in between the engineering and the business teams, so a lot of different hats again. Last year, I was the chair of UKSEDS, so I'm going to be presenting a lot about why you should join UKSEDS. It's definitely the reason I have the job I have today, so a good community to get involved in. And my fun fact is a little bit space related. It's I've spent in total about 30 minutes in microgravity so far after a bunch of parabolic flights. So, you know, training to be an astronaut, getting there, 30 seconds in free space.
Is that the zero-G thing they do in America? I've seen.
They do it here as well. Like ESA
really?
has their own aircraft. Well, they use the Novaspace aircraft in Bordeaux. And I was lucky enough to swindle my way onto 3 flights. I told him it was my birthday, you know, got the last spot on the last flight. But yeah, it's a great opportunity. That's actually another opportunity that people should be aware of, is that if you're studying at the moment, go to the ESA site. You know, they have a bunch of things like fly your satellite, fly your thesis, drop your thesis, all those kind of things.
Amazing. And I guess you've participated in some analog astronaut missions too. Brilliant, cool. Well, yeah, we're all ears. We'd love to hear about it. So yeah, thank you very much, Zaria. Bram, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, for sure. So hi, my name is Bram de Winter. Originally from the Netherlands, but I came to the UK now 1.5 years ago. In my, I would say day-to-day, I'm a PhD student at the University of Oxford. I study magma oceans on planets, so kind of better understand how planets form. And then outside my academic work, I do a lot of volunteering for an organization called Space Generation Advisory Council, which I am the European regional coordinator for. After doing a long trip through project groups and other kind of positions, I ended up last summer in the regional coordinator, which means that I coordinate everything that happens in Europe and be part of the executive team of SGAC. I would say my fun fact is actually, so before I came to the UK, both being a student, I was also a semi-pro volleyball player. And if you ever meet me, you will see why. Every time people meet me, they know each other, they know me from online, they just straight up look up to me and like, ooh, you're a bit taller than I thought you were. So yeah, I hope to give you a bit of information about SGAC and all the great opportunities they have this evening.
I can confirm that's true. And yes, SGAC, a fantastic organization we'd definitely love to hear more about. So yeah, thank you for the introduction, Bram. So the way the webinar is going to work is Bram, Zaria, and Nush are going to give quick, short presentations about their lives in all of these communities. And then we're going to get onto the fun part. We're going to get it interactive. We're going to have a live panel of questions. You'll all have the opportunity to ask all 3 of them questions. So drop them in the chat as they're coming to your mind as they're presenting them. And let's make it fun and interactive. I would just like to say as well that at the end, we do have a very special announcement to make for all of you. So please stay tuned. Yes, please stay tuned. You definitely won't regret it. It's one of the biggest things you're going to hear all year. But without further ado, let's get on to the big presentation. So Zaria, I believe you're going first. Are you happy to do so?
Yeah, happy to go ahead. I think we tested, and it's better if you share my slides so that I don't disappear from the Zoom again.
Okay. Elia, did you manage to grab those on an email, or I'll get them out?
Yes, I forwarded it to yourself and Eli as well. I can also switch with Bram if it's if it's quicker to organize.
If you can get them on the screen, it'd be better, Mike. I've got the whole control panel for Zoom here.
Yes.
Feels like mission control for a satellite.
They've not come through to me, Zaria. Oh no, it has. Ignore me. It went to my spam. Very unjustified. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. Panic over.
I promise there's nothing untowards in the presentation.
Okay, so it's come out in PDF form, but that's fine. When you want me to,
it's fine. That's right. Yeah.
amazing. Just tell me next slide when you're ready.
Next slide, please, Michael. So yeah, so I'm a rep here today for UKSEDS. So I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of background to UKSEDS first, for anybody who doesn't know. So we're part of a global organization called SEDS, so the Students for the Exploration of Development in Space, and we're the UK branch. So as of yet, like at the moment, we have around 1,500 members, about 120 volunteers, and around 52 branches that are kind of dotted around the UK. And in those, the main things that we do is we run events and competitions. We have a lot of resources that I guess people aren't as aware of sometimes, but there's a lot of resources up on the website, and networking opportunities, and then of course job opportunities, careers, anything like that. So the QR code will take you through to a link tree that has just a ton of links to different opportunities. But yeah, that's kind of the start for today. So on the next slide, I'll go into a little bit more detail about, I guess, the things that are most dear to my heart, which are the events and competitions, because that's kind of how I got started through UKSEDS. It was by taking part in our rover competition, and then eventually, joining volunteering to help run our satellite design competition. Then I leveled up and started running the competitions at UKSEDS, and then eventually joined the executive committee. So there's so many ways in which you can get involved, but that's kind of how most people talk about it is, you end up going to one of these events competitions and then just wanting to do more with UKSEDS. So as of yet, we have 5 competitions running. I think there might be one in development, so there might be 6 soon. But it's everything from from designing and building a rocket to a rover. With the rover competition, you also actually get to go to RAL Space and Airbus to test them on the actual Mars yard, which is so cool. To CANSAT competitions, we have satellite design competitions, and then our most recent one so far is the in-orbit servicing and manufacturing competition, which has a bit more of a business slant on it as well. You kind of have to present your idea in a Dragon's Den kind of setting where you have to sell it to our dragons. Yeah, and then I would be remiss without mentioning the National Student Space Conference, which is in 2 weeks. I think it's in 2 weeks, yeah, in Bristol this year. Definitely like the highlight of the year. It has so much popped into it because it's not just talks. We have 2 streams going on at the same time, each for over 2 days. So you have a bunch of talks, but you also have a lot of panels. There's a lot of ways to be interactive. Ton of sponsors that are there on the day that you can talk to from different companies. Social events, our AGM, it's I know from organizing it as well, there's just a lot that goes into it. So definitely an event not to miss. Yeah, I think that's all on competitions for events for now. Then we have volunteering and careers. So the way that it usually goes is you get started with UKSEDS by taking part in one of our competitions, which is super fun. After that, you're like, what can I do next? How can I do more? And that's when you start getting involved behind the scenes with the actual UKSEDS team. So we have lots of different opportunities depending on what you're actually interested in. We have a marketing team. We have a team that develop the competitions. We have a team that deals with membership. We have a team that deals with careers. So there's so many different facets that you can join. Normally, the best way to join is by looking on Space Careers. This is a screenshot from earlier today. I noticed we don't actually have any roles open at the moment, but they usually pop up pretty quickly, especially now with NSSC just around the corner. Yeah, and then as well, UKSEDS, so Space Careers is kind of created by UKSEDS volunteers in 2015. So that's going strong as well. That resource in itself, it has so much stuff on the website about careers, different interviews, just keeping up to date with everything in the sector. It's a great place to go, and then of course job opportunities as well. And then yeah, on the right, that was from my year when I was an exec. That was all the companies we worked with in that year. So definitely like at the center of a lot of space in the UK. it's a very fun community to join, where you get to be part of really big conversations despite just being a student or despite being really, really new to the sector. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's what UKSEDS is and what UKSEDS does. So then on the next slide, I thought I would run you through a not so typical day in space. I think one of the things that was great was UKSEDS kind of brought together all these different facets. So I mentioned before that I don't think I'd have the job that I have now if I wasn't part of UKSEDS. I was part of the executive committee, and that just gave me so much experience that I needed to be able to do the role that I'm doing now. It also introduced me to the team that I went with to do an analog astronaut mission over in Switzerland, which was so much fun. Like, definitely don't think about your career. Just go do it. Just go do an analog astronaut mission at some point. But it helped me kind of stay on top of opportunities like that kept coming in. The parabolic flights, again, you know, UKSEDS was so essential in helping me do outreach for that, in helping me like connect to different universities so that we could share the research a bit more further. So that was great. And then I wanted to give a quick example of what a typical week would look like, because I am a product strategy engineer, which is just a made-up title, but has engineer in the title at least. But this is what I do as an engineer in the space sector. So I'm going to go to a mechanisms workshop soon at the European Space Agency headquarters, STEC. After that, you know, I'm going to be working a bit with ESA on setting these 0 degree requirements. So that's a lot of policy work. It's a lot of engineering work. It's kind of a mix between everything. Then I'm working with the leadership team to try and strategize on what our upcoming products are going to look like. You know, what are we building next? Why are we going to build it? How are we going to build it? Then I take part in the workspace foresighting workshops, which is basically like peering into a crystal ball and trying to predict what skills and what people we're going to need 3 to 5 years from now. And then I work a little bit on some blue sky projects. So anything that sounds completely crazy now comes to me to evaluate, to see, you know, is it completely crazy or does it have some merit to it? You know, are we going to have space-based solar power? Are we going to have recycling centers in space? All of those kind of things. That comes to me. So I think that's one of the best things that I love about this community, is the fact that even though you're one thing, you don't just have to do that one thing. You can take part in so many different areas just because everybody's really excited about what they're doing, and they love to share and they love to kind of grow that bit. So that is it for me, I think. I hope that was roughly 10 minutes. But yeah, feel free to ask me any questions. I think on the next page, I just have the QR code again, if you guys want to, it's all the links to any of the UKSEDS stuff coming up. My email is kind of hard to remember. My name is very easy to remember, Zaria. So if you want to find me on LinkedIn instead, that might be an easier step. But that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Zaria, and thank you for that really whistle-stop tour of UKSEDS. I've been to the NSSC before, and it's really an incredible opportunity to meet other like-minded individuals. I actually wasn't aware that you had so many members. I think the last time I checked, a little bit outdated, but it just goes to show how much you've been growing. I think the last time I checked, you had about 500 members. So the fact you blossomed to 1,500 is a really testament to your dedication and the current team's dedication to the cause. It's really great that you offer long-term and short-term projects as well. So it's a really great way to get involved in both the competitions, but also the one-off events that you have. And yeah, it's a really impressive list of companies that you work with as well. I mean, I think if you ask any recruitment manager at any company in the space industry in the UK, they would have heard of UKSEDS. And they know just how you know, valuable the people are that have previously got involved with their projects. So yeah, really a really fantastic organization. So thank you very much for a great presentation on that. On to SG.
Sorry, I have a question just to satisfy my quick curiosity. How is ice diving related to going to space?
Oh, that was part of the, sorry, I didn't explain that very well. That was part of the analog astronaut mission. So one of the ways in which you prepare to be an astronaut is through diving, because, you know, diving is pretty much the best way on Earth that we can recreate microgravity. And for our sins, they decided that we needed to do extreme weather training. So they brought us up to the Alps. They put us in tents that weren't made for the temperatures that it was at. They, you know, didn't give us enough food. They basically put you through mental and physical hurdles, and one of those is ice diving. So having to cut your own hole in the ice and go scuba diving underneath.
Amazing. Okay, thank you. You made it even more interesting with the explanation.
Thank you again, Zaria. Next, we're going to, Bram is going to walk you through SGAC. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. And Bram, I'm going to hand it all over to you. Okay,
Thanks so
we can
much,
see,
Michael.
we can see the
I can
presentation.
share my screen. Yes, amazing. Well, thanks so much, Zaria, for the presentation. I'm actually likely gonna experience my first national student conference in a couple of weeks, so I'm really excited to go. So today I will just, next couple of 10 minutes, I will discuss Space Generation Advisory Council for people who haven't been hearing of this organization before. I must put a claimer on it. In 10 minutes, there's so much happening in this organization that it's very likely I miss things in 10 minutes. But feel free to afterwards, you'll come to me with questions either through this webinar or afterwards my email or LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk more about this amazing organization. So just briefly some things, what is SGAC? So SGAC is a non-profit, non-governmental organization for people between 18 and 35, mainly just focused on students and young professionals. We aim to connect young professionals and students across the world. Compared to, for instance, UKSEDS, we're much more a global organization, basically like SEDS, but then more as one organization. And we wish to connect people, but also provide advices and recommendations towards the United Nations and other space governmental organizations to make sure there's a sustainable future for space. So at this moment, we're basically in all countries. We just reached over, I need to update it. We just reached over 28,000 members worldwide, which makes us the largest space community for young professionals and students there is. We literally, in the time in the last 3 years I've spent in SGAC, I think I've been fortunate to meet at least from 100 country people. And that's really amazing about this organization. There's 5 pillars in SGAC, 5 of the most important things, which I will discuss in a second in more detail. These 5 things is that we organize events, we do project groups, we focus on education and professional developments, we offer scholarships to people to attend events, and then the last one is also to make sure we have a policy of advocacy towards these UN and other governmental bodies. So go more in detail with the events, which there's a couple of really flagship events that we have. So I'll walk you through the 3 flagship events, but we also do many more. So our big 3 events are tied to also bigger space events. So this one, the first one is the Space Generation Fusion Forum, which happens in Colorado every year, which is tied to the Space Symposium. This is really a most incredible opportunity to network with the top leaders of the industry. Often all kinds of people from the leadership team from NASA, other space agencies are attending these kind of events as well, which provides a unique opportunity for young professionals in order to attend. Our biggest event by far is the Space Generation Congress, which happens every year alongside the ISC, the International Astronautical Congress, kind of the biggest space conference in the world. There's a group of 150 delegates coming from all across the globe coming to this event, and more than half of them actually get a scholarship in order to attend this event. With this scholarship also comes a free ticket to ISC, plus stay and travel, etc. Besides connecting, so really meeting these 150 incredible space talents, you will also have talks from high-level speakers, and you have the opportunities to, in working groups, really work on recommendations on certain topics, such as sustainability in space or other topics that come up in these working groups. Then the last one is SGX, which happens in conjunction with the satellite show in Washington. which is much more a congress styled after like the TEDx talks. So it's a lot of really small talks, and also an amazing opportunity for you as a person with your idea, your company, or whatever you're working on to pitch it towards a bigger audience, not only of young professionals, but also experts that are attending these schools. Besides that, SGAC also offers a whole suite of regional and local events. So we have every region, including Europe, has an event. Our event will take place in the end of May and beginning of June. So I'm exactly on the border where the month goes on. And will be taking place in Munich this year in Germany. Actually, if you're interested in this, the applications have just opened. So really feel free to send your application. From experience, this is an amazing event where you meet the top young professionals and students from the space sector in Europe. And it's just a very fun and interesting event. Besides that, we're also doing local events. Some countries are doing their own events, which in the past, for instance, France have done it, Spain, Germany, and many other countries, which is normally a one-day event focused on national space issues. So we really try to bring as much events as possible to everyone, so you can meet, connect, and meet as many people from the space sector as possible. And yes, we also do webinars. So surprisingly, which with all kind of various topics. I want to talk briefly about the project groups. So within SGAC, there's currently 11 project groups, which is a very different kind of topics, from space exploration to small satellites to gender and gender equality, gender diversity and equality. And all these project groups are really focused on connecting people with the same like-minded, so the same kind of interest, as well as then providing recommendations on this topic. So for instance, in my before I was regional coordinator, I led the space exploration project group, which you see in this list as well. We organized many projects. We did all kind of competitions as well. We submitted around 10 to 15 papers a year to different conferences. And it's really an amazing place to meet people that are interested in similar topics as you. Brief word on scholarships around we have for different events, SGAC events, but also sometimes some partner events. We offer around 150 to 200 scholarships and grants a year, including there's also always one from towards ISC and SGAC offered by the UK Space Agency. So definitely for people who are residing in the UK, this is a very interesting one. Yeah, I'll definitely have a look because it's an amazing opportunity to attend these conferences that sometimes are not possible because of the funding. One of the incredible things, or one of the best things to get involved in SGAC and also grow your career, I think we already heard from Zaria what volunteering in such organizations can do for your career, and I can only confirm that. From myself working up from a normal member in a project group toward now a leadership opportunity has really grown me a lot and offered me a lot of opportunities as well. And so we have a current stream, because we're such a large organization, we have a current stream of open vacancies. For instance, now there's also an open position as national point of contact for the UK. But there's many other opportunities if you want to join our HR team, if you want to join the web and data team, if you want to join project groups. There's many applications open, and it's really one of the best things you can do for your career, in my opinion. And we also offer mentorship programs where we couple you up with experts from the space sector, and through a period of around 3 months, you will have the chance to one-on-one meet with these people every month and discuss all your things that you wanted to discuss and connect with these mentors. Which I have been part of in the past, and now I'm actually also helping as a mentee of a mentor, and it really helps your career development as well. So we have, as a UN, I already said, we have permanent observatory status, which means we provide recommendations to the UN COPIUS, and we also, as a member, you can have a chance to also attend these sessions. And we do have various other things as well for UNOSA and a couple of other UN committees as well. And currently, we're also having a space generation advice, advocacy and policy platform, which really provides really high level recommendations from the organization, which compiles all the work that we've done. And lately, there's been one really important document being published on space sustainability. If it hasn't been convincing enough though yet, I summarized it here. So SGAC, a worldwide organization, meet incredible people all across the globe, have access to scholarships, build your network through events, through project groups, and build your leadership skills by all these vacancies and jobs you can do in the organization. And also a really important selling point is that our membership is free. So it's very easy to become a member, and I definitely recommend you doing it. So become a member, be informed, make sure you sign up to all the mailing list, and keep a lookout for scholarships, vacancies, and events and conferences. And that's what I wanted to close off with. I hope this has informed you about this amazing organization, SGAC, and let me know afterwards if there's any questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bram. And I think it's really a testament to show just how big SGAC is, because even I learned stuff from this presentation despite being in the organization for 2 years now. So there's so much going on, so much for you to get involved in. It's incredible.
It's incredible. It's growing every day. I think last year we got over 2,500 members in a year, which is insane. And it just keeps on growing. And I think that's a testimony of all the great work that has been done by the organization over the last couple of years, and will keep doing. As also part of the executive team, I see many great opportunities coming. There's things like, for instance, now a free space engineering course, which is available, where we brought together all kind of like space experts from all across the globe to give free courses to members. Such things are happening, and it's incredible.
Bram, we've had a question for you in the chat. It's specific to you. It's from Rachel, and the question is: do you have a success story of any one of the project led by SGAC team? I presume that might try to be linking into the project groups, perhaps. Is there a particular standout story that you find really impressive?
There's actually a couple of them. I think my personal favorite one is actually, I just briefly talked about the space engineering course. It's a project that we started now 2 years ago when I was the co-lead of the space exploration project group, where we saw what impact mission design can have on the educational purposes. So how much people can learn from doing mission design. And we saw that this was offered by a lot of universities, but it was, we tried to make it more accessible by opening it up to basically everyone who can attend online. And this resulted in 2 years of fantastic mission design with 4 published papers. And then we switched the narrative by creating this free educational course, which now has been offering, I think. So we got so many applications for it, and it's going to be an incredible course, which offers, we have within our lectures, I think there's 3 astronauts, there's people from the leadership and space agencies, there's all kind of people just helping us for free to get these space engineering courses to all across the globe. And I think the other one very much official formal is that we have been with Space Exploration Group. We got in contact with the Luxembourg Space Agency, which we have been working with now for the last 1.5 years. And the recommendations that we provided for them were actually taken up into their national strategy plan. So if you look up and you find their national strategy plan, a part of it is actually written by a couple of people that from the project group. That's like a small, but I thought it was a very nice thing to see the impact of the work that you do. So far I think there's many great stories. Now I only briefly talked about the Space Exploration Project Group, but we have an incredible gender equality and diversity group who is probably one of the world leading expert groups now on this topic, and gets asked about these opinions every month to help with recommendations. So yeah, I'm really proud as a member of SGAC for all this work that's been done.
Amazing. If you're not convinced yet, I don't know what will convince you. Karen, we've noticed your question in the chat. It is noted. We will come on to that. We just want to give Nush the time to run through her presentation as well, and then we can go into the wider questions. All right. So stick around, and we'll get to that one. Nush, do you want to take control? It's all for you now.
Thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind just unsharing your screen, and then I'll pop my slides up. Thanks, Bram. That was really awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I am actually, if I keep my slides in this display screen, would that be okay? So I can just see my notes on screen. My name, as I said, is Nush, and I have probably been building communities across politics, technology, the Olympics, deep technology, startups, and now really the London Space Network, and also my day job across academia in the space sector. And I wanted to share some of the lessons I've learned, but also give you a little bit of an intro of someone who's pivoted into the space sector in their 30s about 8-9 years ago, and I'm currently now in my 40s. And I think it's really important that we hear from different people and different perspectives of how they've entered into a career in the space sector, because there are so many gaps in the industry, and I'm going to touch on some of like the technical roles that I see gaps for in the future. And so I really welcome this opportunity to share my experiences. So thanks again for having me. Let me speak about Naaut. Naaut is an astronaut, and I couldn't get the Naut.com as it's far too expensive. So I got a bit creative with the design and made it a AA. So in case anyone ever wonders about this spelling, it's the triangle, which one day, if I'm rich like Elon Musk, it will turn into an Naut, like when he tried to buy X.com. Naaut is my space tech and innovation consultancy, and I established it basically after hiding my dirty secret of wanting a career in the space sector. So let me take you back to 2014. I was working in the UK tech ecosystem, an opportunity to go to a NASA social. So in the top right-hand corner here, where I'm wearing you see a rocket behind me, that's a picture taken at the Vandenberg Space Force Base, where I got invited to witness the launch of a satellite, soil moisture active passive SMAP, which had taken something like 20 years to get to the point where it then could be launched. And as a non-US citizen, I was the only person granted access to this working military base to basically tell the story of the launch, because I had been doing work in social media. And so I got an opportunity, and you'll see the rocket on the launch pad. And I kind of wanted to show that a picture of me in 1997, many, many years ago, of me at Kennedy Space Center. And that at that time, I was just, I'd done my GCSEs, I was deliberating what to do, I was doing my A-levels, and I didn't quite know then that I wanted to work in the space sector, although I had always been passionate about it. So I was very lucky to be on a family trip where I could actually access the Kennedy Space Center. And I just wanted to give you a flavor of my career. And so I always laugh at the picture of me in Google Glass. This is like the first iteration of Google Glass. I've always been interested in technology. I only got 4 likes on Instagram. I think the image is still there if you follow me on Instagram. And it was a screenshot. And it's so funny because from me taking this picture, which was in Miami 10 years ago at a tech conference, if I think about how much I have grown my community of talking about my passion for space and technology, like, it's not always about the number of likes. When you're passionate about something and you really care about it, sometimes it is those 4 likes that get you through the energy of the next few years. And even if you don't get the engagement that you think you should, I think this is what's so key about building community. is build a community that serves a gap that's missing. And I'll come on to some more kind of reflections in creating the London Space Network with my two co-founders, Harriet and Manny. Massive shout out to them next. But I've really worked across politics, technology, the Olympics, and you can see me doing a virtual reality parachute jump. And I literally did scream down the Excel Center when the rigging did drop me. And I just think whatever your passion in life, if you follow it, it doesn't matter whether you enter a career in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 20s. And let's be real about the space sector, right? We're early and we're late. And it's this weird duality of space missions that are being worked on today that will continue to be worked on in 20 years' time when we receive the information back from a satellite or a spacecraft and something else in the future that hasn't potentially been designed yet. But one of the reasons I'm here today is to talk about the London Space Network. And we were founded in 2019. And in fact, in the December of 2018, Harriet, Manny and I met at the IET in London and basically decided we were going to put on an event in a pub and bring together the UK space community to strengthen our community. And why did we do this? First of all, I was tired of bumping into Harriet and Manny at various space conferences around the world, right? So from IAC to Disrupt Space and others, it felt really weird to me that we were Brits in the UK and we were only able to access international communities from the space sector by traveling to events. And so as someone at that point who'd set up her consultancy, I've been bootstrapping my journey into the space sector. So I was doing my day job in Shoreditch, setting up a 20,000 square foot space and curating it full of product-oriented tech startups. And for me, I was saving money to go to these events and access the space community. And that was a position I was in because at that moment, I wasn't aware of SGAC and I would have been just in the time frame of being a member of SGAC, but I just didn't cross paths. And I think that's really more social media wasn't where it is today, and the opportunities and the work that the community is doing to really engage and outreach has grown tremendously. So congratulations to you all for that. And let me just tell you about LSN, if you've never heard of it. We're the London Space Network. We meet up once a month in a pub in a different part of London every month. And we get sponsorship from a corporate company from the space sector, which helps us remove that barrier of having drinks and sometimes nibbles to help our community strengthen their networking skills. And so we've got over 1,200 subscribers to our mailing list. Our events, it's a wonderful problem to have, often sell out very quickly. So I will drop, so I haven't put it in this presentation, a link to sign up to the mailing list, because that is the first place that you hear about the event and sign up. And what's really cool is that no event is ever the same. There's always a different members of the community coming along. And often if you don't get in and you really want to come, or you're in London for the day, or you've got a friend with you, if you message myself, I'll just say that now, drop me a line, because sometimes we do get last minute dropouts and we'll do what we can to accommodate you. We never want to turn anyone away from an event. And I think that whole kind of approach is on a case-by-case basis. But as someone who often had to blag my way into events, I do respect someone who is chancer and a trier, because I think you'll probably benefit if you've made the effort to say you really want to come to an event. I think any organizer that then doesn't make space for you doesn't recognize the fact that you really want to be in the room. And that's something I always try to encourage my community and team to think about, who wants to be in the room, that can't be in the room, that we can try and get into the room. And that's not perfect, right? And I think that's something that I would also reflect on. We do meet up in a pub, and a pub isn't always the best environment for someone like me that wears a hearing aid, and I can't always hear every conversation. And what was so cool about the last LSN is that Michael and Elia and I were having a little huddle, and we tried to move to a quieter place and it seemed to be louder. But then all of a sudden a tray of pizza arrived and it revived our conversation, and we carried on, we made do, and it was wonderful. So LSN is incredible because if you think about the number of subscribers, and on average we have 120 people, and people come, they don't always stay the whole night. They come for maybe a power hour of networking and jump on a train home. And that's okay because it takes energy, right, to socialize. And what's so cool is that our network is representative of over 90 organizations. And within our community, we have students, we have early career stage professionals, we have entrepreneurial people like me, we have consultants, we have rocket engineers, we have astronauts, we have business managers, we have lawyers, we have ethicists, you name it. And I think that that's representative of a diverse community that we wanted to build. But it's funny because our first event, it will seem like we were an overnight success. And honestly, I do have to caveat the fact that each of us as co-founders were all professionals working in the space sector and had access to our own networks and communities. And I think one of the things to take away is that if you ever want to like grow your community, think about the people in your team and think about how you can work together. Number one, to share the burden of the work, but also to diversify the community that you're bringing together. And I think one of the things that I've always been is a sense maker and connector and community builder. And I often try and do that networking for people in the room. They're looking to meet someone specific. And I know that there's, say, if there's a electric propulsion engineer and there's a nuclear propulsion engineer, and one of them wants to meet the other one, I'll make it happen. So I think when you go to an event, always think about how you can ask someone in the room to look out for someone that you'd like to meet and have a little list of something that you're looking to achieve in the evening. I think it's really easy to just go to one event after another and after another. But I think I really learned after over 20 years of going to networking events of knowing where my energy was and what I wanted to achieve. And I think pre-pandemic, I had a lot more energy than I do now. And that's not because I don't get to go to as many events as before. I think I'm much more strategic about where I want to put my energy, particularly around my goals and values of what I'm trying to achieve in any, say, calendar year. And that's just a reflection of like where I'm at with my work at the moment. And I touched on it in that Naaut was my consultancy and I was doing it full time. And I was working with organizations that like NASA and helping them with their AI accelerator program. And it's called the Frontier Development Lab. And if anyone is interested and you're a space scientist or a machine learning or AI expert, they do have applications open. Drop me a line and I can share a link with you if you're interested. But the pandemic hit and I just couldn't travel. I couldn't get out of the UK and my business really suffered. And so whilst my media profile increased and I was able to share my passion for space across media, LSN also took a pause and we weren't able to hold those physical events. And so this year really marks our 5th year and we've been back at it, and it's been wonderful having people come back together on a regular basis in London, and we do diversify our locations, as I've said. But one of the things I'm really conscious of in the future is that maybe we won't always have events in a pub, and we have on odd occasions had our events in RAISE, the Royal Aeronautical Society. We've also had an event in an event space in near Bond Street. And I think one of the things that we're really aware of is that pubs aren't always the best environment, particularly if you're not a drinker, or you have caring responsibilities, you might have children, you might have a time zone that you're working with and you need to get back and be on your laptop. So these are things that we would always consider and take into our like future direction strategically for LSN. And I think that's really important to let everybody know that it's stuff that we are thinking about in the background. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is the array of different careers that there are in the space sector. And I think when you are going to any sort of networking event or community event, it's really good to think about what it is that you're looking to do or learn. And And this is just a visualization. We do need ethicists, we need designers, we need creatives, we need people that are technical and non-technical. And I think it's really important that if you find someone that's interested in something that's perhaps sci-fi related, they may never have considered a career in the space sector, right? And so with UKSEDS and SGAC and LSN, like there's this beautiful like matrix of like where we kind of cross over and combine, but also weave this web of this like wider networking community across the UK and internationally, because SGAC and UKSEDS are part of international networks, which is fantastic. And so I wanted to also just touch on some future technical careers, in case there are some geeks like me that have a technical background that are interested in some of the technologies and innovations that are going to drive our space future. This is only a little list. I have another slide after this. Feel free to grab a screen grab. But artificial intelligence, and as we know, generative AI really blew up at the tail end of 2022. 2023 was like the year of generative AI. It was the year of ChatGPT, Midjourney, DALL-E, and all of these other really interesting applications. And I think that hasn't gone anywhere. And I think there'll be some really cool interactions in the space sector where that can be used to really drive some cool innovation. And then you've got the much more like technical things, like we've talked about space-based solar power that I think Zaria mentioned earlier on. There's definitely something about battery technology, and think about the challenge of what happened with JAXA, that as they landed on the moon, their solar panels didn't quite get out there. Their battery technology only took them so far. What are the other instances that we can think about recovering a spacecraft on the surface of the moon remotely with novel ideas? And I think that that's if you think about what's happening today and you think about the potential, I hate to call failure a failure, but I don't think of failure as failure. I think of it as an opportunity to think about the next thing. And then here are some other ones of where it potentially technology could be applied. And I've touched on propulsion engineers attending space network drinks. And I do think that for deep space missions, we'll be looking at novel ideas around deep space propulsion. We've thinking about what's happening on the surface of the moon, manufacturing, tourism. Like I would love to go on a zero-G flight as a precursor. So Zaria, like thank you for that little heads up on some of the ways that we can access that in Europe. Fantastic. And also let's not forget about robotics and autonomous systems. So I just think that there are no limits. The only limiting factor is yourself and your imagination. So like me, just start connecting the dots of people, technology today, and who knows where we're going to meet again in the future. Maybe somewhere like the moon, or Mars, or beyond, or somewhere just like another pub in London somewhere, in LSN. So I really invite you to connect with me, think about the ways that you are able to connect with your peers and share the work that you do. I find that I'm not using Twitter or X as much anymore. I think I'm definitely driving a lot of my content on LinkedIn. I've never really been a user of Facebook, and I think WhatsApp's really interesting for conversations. I personally am not a user of TikTok, but that's because I've looked into the terms and conditions of the technology, and that's something I'm really aware of. So I think choose your platform that goes with you and your values. And really, there are some careers in the space sector that haven't even been invented yet. Technology is really changing things and making it very accessible. And I think if you are someone who, even if you're an introvert, I always look out for introverts at London Space Network. I often find them floating on the edge of the event, and I will always go and say hello, and they'll always come and say hello. And I think it's if you are an introvert and you're worried about attending an event, I respect and understand how much energy it takes to turn up and be in the room, and that's often the first step. If you come along and you grab your sticky label and you put your name on your lapel of your jacket or your top, and you're just there and present and you don't talk to anyone, please come, right? And then the next time come and bring a business card or bring your QR code from LinkedIn. Take those baby steps, use the opportunity of these communities that are opening their doors for you. And there will always be someone with a friendly face. And it's very easy in LSN. When you turn up, there's a Sharpie, there's a sticky label, you grab one, you stick your name on it, and anyone else in the room that's got one of those sticky labels is somebody who is a future friend, future co-founder, future mentor, or you could be, they might be your mentee, they might be a business partner, they might be an investor, they might be an advisor, and they might also just be your accountability partner to help you come along to the next one. So be open-minded, think about what you can bring to any community that you're coming and interacting with. And I look forward to welcoming you to one of our events in the future. So with that, I'll stop my share. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to take some. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nush. That was really gripping, really inspiring for us all to hear. And having met you in person and spoken with you, we can really see your passion and drive shine through. So thank you for all your contributions to the industry. You make it easy for us, I think, especially if you're starting out in your career. There's a lot of pressure to have things worked out straight away. But your very meandering path into the space industry gives me hope, at least, that we still have time to work things out, and there are the right people in your community to help you to figure that out. One thing that you mentioned at the start, and it kind of struck me, was that you said that a career in space was your dirty secret at the start, which kind of leads me to ask, what could have been different to help you get there faster? What could the community have done for you to help that? It's a question, I guess, for everyone else. How can your community be improved as well? The communities are great, but they can all grow and improve in certain ways. So if you want to perhaps start on that point, Nush, what could have got you there better, faster? How could the community have been better?
So it's so funny. So it's been a journey, right? And I feel like I've taken my tech and startup and deep tech and AI communities and all of the organizations I've worked with in the past, from people I worked in on election campaigns 20 years ago in politics, to my volunteers at the Olympic Stadium at 2012, which is now 12 years ago. And they've all sort of followed this trajectory of me being suddenly open with the world about my passion for space and that unique opportunity of a NASA social, which, by the way, is still open. They have NASA socials, some that are open to international applicants and some that are more closed, some that are online so they become more accessible. So do check it out. And as I look back now and when I share my stories, if you ever look at any post I've ever done on LinkedIn, if you literally looked at the job descriptions of people that like my posts, you will be like, I am blown away by the diversity of people from outside the space sector that acknowledge and read my posts and support me. Because I think that has been the journey for me, like understanding that this was my passion and being able to create a voice in a unique space and carving my space at the table. But also what I try to do is keep the door open, because I found that growing up, working in tech, I did a computer science degree many moons ago, and there weren't women in the room, and there certainly weren't women of color in the room. And I definitely didn't see anyone that looked like me. And I found that really striking. And actually, as I've progressed across my career, I still find that, right? And it's such a shame. But so much work is being done in diversity, inclusion, and equity, right? So it is a journey. And the best thing is when I meet people that I never expected to say, I know what you're doing, because even today, I'm surprised at how many people read what I post on LinkedIn and never acknowledge it. I have no idea they've read it. And then I'll meet them at an event, or I'll meet them at a social occasion and they'll be like, you're doing so well in space. Like, I had no idea you were so interested in space, but I've been watching what you're talking about and it's so exciting. Or my kids are really interested in the space sector. And I think if you're consistent in what you're passionate about and sharing it in the world, even if you don't have all of the answers and you're asking for help openly, And I think that's one of the things I think I was doing, was sharing my journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because as someone who feels like I was an other and still am, that's why what drives me to want to be as inclusive as possible, because I always felt like an outsider in the space sector, even though I'm an insider now. And sometimes I still feel like an outsider. But to me, that's a reflection I take on myself, that the sector can still has still so much more work to do, to be more open, to be more inclusive, to have people of different backgrounds on platforms. And yes, LSN is the London Space Network, but there has been pop-up events taking a place all across the UK. So shout out to Oxford Space Drinks, and there's one in the Southwest. It's really great to see it grow. And I think if I had been more clued up about organizations like SGAC when I pivoted into the space sector at 32, I think, watch out, you guys. I could have been one of your alumni doing some interesting stuff. But also because I wasn't, that's why I still shout you guys out now. And I shout out UKSEDS, because it's so important that anyone who's trying to enter the sector understands that there are these incredible networks of people doing incredible work. So meet your community, meet your allies, share your story and connect with people, because you just never know where you might meet each other again, and actually where that support will come from in the future. For things you don't even know you need to ask for yet, because we're always growing and we're always transforming ourselves in our career journeys.
Thank you, Nush, for sharing once again. Super inspiring. I wanted to open the floor to Bram and Zaria as well. Is there any ways that you wish, any additional features that you wish your community could provide for you? Any other new ways that you think people could get involved?
So I can briefly talk about like my personal experience by becoming involved in the space sector. So it started a bit when I was a student at a university that probably no one in the room has ever heard of, called the Free University Amsterdam, which is by far all means a very non-traditional space university. We did a little bit of a pilot, and we found out that basically no one was interested in space on this university, and in the Netherlands especially, the people that are interested in space all are focused basically on TU Delft and a couple of other universities, but not them. And I think the one thing that I quickly already learned is you need to go outside your university bubble as a student in order to start getting yourself into the space sector. Especially if you're not coming from a non-traditional study background. If you're not an aerospace engineer or another kind of engineer, you really need to push yourself out of the comfort zone. And unfortunately for me, that took a while. I heard your story, Anushka, about being introverted people. I was definitely one of those. Going to an event, going to talk to experts, it was all too frightening for me. And it took me a while to start figuring out I really need to push outside my bubble that I was my university. And that's how I learned about SGAC and about other organizations. I would love to see, and I think that's a point for SGAC, is to be much more connected with universities. I think these worldwide organizations definitely, and especially SGAC, due to its nature and the way it works, it's an extremely good environment for people who have no non-traditional space backgrounds. So it's a fantastic place full of people who do space law, people who do business, people who do planetary science like me, or others, to start investigating what your role could be in the space sector. I think the other thing that I always now take up in my mind is, I progressed further in my career, but I always try to remember the struggles that I had earlier, so that if people come towards me that are in a younger stage, that I know they're struggling with it, and I try to open the door to me because I, considerate of that. I think the space sector is it can be quite a frightening sector to step into, because it has this image of, it's rocket science. It literally says that sentence. So when you talk to these experts and to these people, I hope they make sure that they open up to young people, be helpful of them, and try to really, answer their questions, etc. So I think through different organizations, all these amazing mentorship programs that we have and networking events, it's I think we just need to extend it more and more and more and more. That's my vision on it.
Yeah, I think you've highlighted a good point that if you want to do it, you have to make the effort. It's challenging, but the community is there. People are open. People are there to help you and support you. If you show you're keen and wanting to get into the industry, the support is there. I mean, we've got a host of people on the webinar here showing that it's possible. Reach out to them as well if you have any particular questions about how to access the space industry. Right, so we've got a few questions. We had one from Anna about what the next step should be to carve out a path in the space industry. I think that links quite nicely into the work of UKSEDS and SGAC and even LSN. So Zaria, I'll pose this one to you as I see it being the most direct link for university students. Can you give us a quick run through of the next steps?
Yeah, no, I saw all the questions pop up, and it's the exact same questions I had as well. So, no, happy to take this one. I was gonna say actually for space community, for me the biggest thing was the language barrier, which is something weird to say, but like there's so many different terms. It's a whole new world when you join the space sector. So it is like literally learning a new language, and I think that's something we need to get better at sharing. Talking from personal experience, I had to give a presentation to the general public, and I forgot that the phrase deorbit isn't like a normal phrase. I was shocked when I learned that we burn things up in the atmosphere, and that's how we get rid of space junk. So obviously everybody else is going to be shocked by that as well. So it almost feels like every time you talk about space, it needs to come with like a little disclaimer of like, this is just a brief background of what space is and what's up there and why we do it and how it works, and then you can start with the conversations. I think one of the things that Nush actually pointed out was, find something that you're passionate about first, and then you'll find some way to do it in the space sector. I don't think that was true maybe like 5 or 10 years ago, but it's definitely true now, where focus on what you want to focus on first, whether that be, I saw some mechanical engineers there, I saw some SATCOMs people, pick a topic that you're interested in, because you're going to have to do it for a long time and it's going to be hard. So pick something that you're interested in first, and then you'll find a way to pivot it into the space sector. It's definitely a lot of just talking to people about it, which I also do not like. I am not a natural networker, but that is kind of how you get to these places. I found out about Astroscale because I was at a conference and they were presenting, and I was like, oh, this is actually exactly what I want to do. And then went through the recruitment process, was getting rejected, but knew enough people at the company that eventually I managed to carve my way into one of the roles. So it's a lot of, talking to people about it. It is a bit of a black box because it's, everybody thinks that it is rocket scientists, and it's hard to deny that fact when, a lot of people have PhDs or are in master's degrees and stuff like that. So we're working slowly on changing it, but it's hard to deny that. But everybody's really excited about being in the sector, so they'll probably talk to you about anything you want to talk about, and then they'll be like, "Oh, actually, I noticed one person who's doing that," and they'll put you in touch with them. So it's very good in that way. But yeah, I think pick something you're passionate about. Like Nush was saying as well, choose where you want to spend your energy. I think we've all fallen in the trap of just going to every conference and going to every competition and joining every society, and then not having the mental energy to open one more email. So like, yeah, pick which ones. But there's definitely it is growing. There's definitely like a job for anybody in the space sector, depending on what you're passionate on.
Thank you, Zaria, for sharing. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Thank you for making a really interesting discussion. I'm slightly conscious of the time. We're already a little bit over. These webinars always go on for much longer and the discussions always get so interesting, but unfortunately we can't go on forever. So I'd really encourage you to add our speakers on LinkedIn, send them questions. They're open and willing to help you and give you advice. So make use of the opportunity, make the most of your community. Right, and the last thing we wanted to quickly go through with you is a unique opportunity where you can get involved with the space community. So I'm going to hand you over to Elia, who has also been on the call, to share some very special news with you and how you can get involved. Over to you, Elia.
Fantastic. Thanks, Michael, and thanks, everyone. Let me see if I'm tech savvy enough to share my screen. Here we go. Nice. So, well, my name is Elia, first of all, and I'm here to make a special announcement. You have heard from Bram about the events that SGAC organizes, and you've heard mentioned the US, France, Germany, but what about the UK? Well, the SGAC community in the UK is strong and vibrant, and we are bringing to you
Drum roll, please.
SGUK 2024. So this is Space Generation UK, and it is the first SG country event that we are hosting in this country. The community is here. Let's bring it together. And as much as we love these webinars, these occasions, as much as we love connecting on LinkedIn, there's nothing like the connection in person. And with this event, we really wanted to bring the community together and to bring it to you. This is the voice of the UK space generation, where it's not your standard conference. You're not coming here to listen, not just to listen to experts speaking on stage, not just to network, but to do something hands-on, to do something tangible. And let me tell you a bit more about that. So first of all, what the event looks like. The date is Saturday, the 15th of June. So pin it in your calendar, because it is going to be an important milestone. Whether you are a student that is just looking for an opportunity, or you are a young professional that's been in the industry for 5 or 10 years and that wants to network with companies and find partnership. We are hosting the event for 100 participants, which we call delegates. We are hosting it in Stevenage, so the London area. If you don't know, you can just put it on Google Maps. It's about half an hour from King's Cross. And it's one day. Now, it always feels weird saying it's one day because it feels so much longer. We've got an evening beforehand. We've got a one-day event which starts at 8:30 in the morning and goes on up until 6:30 in the evening. So it's a very long and packed day. And afterwards, we have a quote-unquote party. We have a cocktail, network cocktail afterwards. So there's an occasion for everything, for the formal and for the informal. And the event is very diverse, is composed of different sections. I was telling you before about the keynotes on stage, where you can really learn about the cutting edge innovations that are developed by experts in the field. There are panels where we pose an interesting problem without a clear answer, and we have different companies coming from different perspectives debating on such problem. And then we have the roundtables. Now, roundtables are not, you might not have taken part to a roundtable before because it's such a unique feature of our event. Here, you become the protagonist and you can express your opinion and your voice for the next UK space generation. So here you see the themes of the roundtables. We've got future applications of space, startup ignition, international collaboration, leveling up the UK space economy. But what is a roundtable in practice? Well, you sit in a room together with the other delegates, and under the guidance of experts, you have to write recommendations based on the problem that's presented to you. This is along the line of what SGAC mission is, which is an advisory board to the UN. And we use the same format to be presented with a problem, work and debate with your peers, and then produce a list of recommendations that you present to the audience. And this is what you really remember from the event. Yes, sure, you remember the presentations, sure, you remember the panels, but it's what you've done that you remember the most, and the connections that you've forged while doing that. So here we are. This is SGUK. Learn, connect, and empower with your hands-on experience. I know I will see you there. We've got our announcement on LinkedIn and all social media platforms today as well. And in 1 week time, on Thursday, the 22nd, we will open our call for application. So stay tuned. If somebody can post the link to our website in the chat, that you can bookmark that page and that you can send your application as soon as it's open. Thank you.
Wow, drops the mic. Amazing to hear that there's a really big opportunity coming up that you can all get involved in. I can't recommend it enough. So yeah, thank you so much, Elia, for presenting that. Above all, thank you so much to our speakers for joining today. You've been really enthusiastic. It's been really interesting. We've recorded this presentation. I'm definitely going to listen back to it on my drive to work. It's really valuable, and I'm going to be sharing it with other people. So yeah, once again, really thank you for your enthusiasm and for bringing all your expertise and wisdom to the chat. Let's leave it there. Let's get on back to our evenings. Once again, thank you all for joining. Thank you to the speakers. It's been a really great one, and looking forward to meeting you at the next one.